on your radio. You said this was going to be a reward, right, for the spring. So how do you think that went tonight? And I know during the spring, there are a lot of things you wanted to get working. How do you think it all came together for both sides tonight?
It was fun, just as we hoped it would be. Um, Guys played hard. Some guys made some really good plays. Uh, the last, just the last uh, series of the game, the black teams got the ball 3rd and goal at the 1. They get a false start penalty, moves them back. They don't convert on 3rd down. Get a field goal blocked. Great play by Josiah Banks to block the kick. And I guess it was less than 3 minutes, they drive the ball down and score and take the lead. And just the mentality, the black flag mentality we talk about, and the fight that those guys had. It was fun to see. But some guys made some really good plays. It's good to see some of those inexperienced backs run the ball. Rendina, Carson Smith, Jarrell Dixon, AJ Williams, all those guys making some good hard runs. We threw the ball and completed some passes, and our defense made a bunch of plays. They got some stops on 4th down, and some key pass breakups, some sacks at the opportune times. So there was a lot of good things, but far too many mistakes, self-inflicted mistakes, for us to be completely satisfied. So things we can work on. But what I wanted was, I want our guys to have fun, be competitive, and stay healthy. For the most part, I think we did those 3 things.
And Jeff, what was your assessment of the quarterbacks?
It's a little hard to tell when they're wearing red jerseys. They don't get a chance to finish a run. It's 2-hand touch with those guys, but those guys did a good job. And it's a little difficult when you're kind of rotating guys, and sometimes in the middle of a series you're putting in a different quarterback, and that position, maybe more than any, you kind of got to get in a groove a little bit. But I thought those guys competed really hard. Bryson did a nice job. We limited his reps. I thought Dwayne Coleman did some good things. I thought he made a critical error by not throwing the ball away and taking a sack on one drive. And then he came back the next drive and felt that pressure and tossed the ball out of bounds and avoided the sack, and gave his team a chance to kick a field goal on the drive. And so, that was encouraging. That group's got to get better, and they've got to make everything go. Helms, who I'm really excited about, the game's got to slow down for him a little bit more, and he's got to get more confident. He will. Zach Mundell got hit on a play, just kind of went kneecap to kneecap with somebody. It's not anything serious, but I really had hoped to see him play a little bit more. And he's been kind of nursing an injury and coming back. So there's guys there, and we're confident in that group. They've got to improve. And the more they can be in situations like they were tonight, I think the more they're going to be prepared.
Go ahead, Ken.
Coaches, I mean, go talk a little bit about your offensive line. You went back and forth a little bit, shotgun and under center tonight. How do you feel like your center, Brady Small? So Bill Cassianis was out at left guard tonight. How do you feel they all reacted?
We ran the ball pretty effectively tonight, and that obviously has got to start up front with the offensive line. I think that's a good, solid group. Brady's got a lot of experience now, starting 12 games as a freshman, and it's I sometimes got to remind myself he's only a freshman and going into a sophomore year. But I think he's going to have a chance to have another good season if he'll stay healthy. Katsianis, Booby Law, Paulo Generali, David Hoyt. Just trying to think of all the guys that we've rotated through at that position over the course of the spring. I mean, there's a good bunch of guys there. There's backup guys. Lane Parks has had a really good spring and positioned himself to to be a guy that we think will help us in the depth. Klaska, Tyler Lee, you know, there's a bunch of guys there. So I'm encouraged with the guys that we've got and the job that they've done this spring. There's some improvements that got to be made there. Obviously tonight, you know, there were some protection issues that we got to correct. And I think that group overall had 5 false starts, and that's not acceptable. We got to fix that. So there's some things there, but I think we've had teams where there's been more guys that have been veterans and played and started games, but I don't know, it's just a good group. And I think that Coach Vitti and Coach Drenkel are doing a really good job coaching those guys.
And you had just going to the kicking game today, you had 4 kickers out there at least. Alvarado had 1 kickoff that went beyond the end zone, which I thought looked impressive. Britton had the field goal. Charlie Bennett almost made the 54-yard, came very close on that. And Trey Gennady hit a goal post. So what was your thought?
3 missed field goals, and one was blocked. So 4 missed field goals, but 3 we just didn't have anything to do with the defense, just didn't make them. So we got to do a better job of putting the ball through the uprights when we got a chance to score points. First kickoff went out of bounds. That was disappointing. They're competing, and I think Trey's got himself at the top of the depth chart right now. But you know, there's some healthy competition, and I think we'll find out a lot more when we get into preseason camp, and you know, guys know that we're getting close to the season, and the guys are going to perform under the pressure. They're going to be the guys that'll be up there at the top, and you know, the punters, I think there's competition there too. All 4 of those guys we got in the program, I think, are good players. Thought Allen hit a really good punt on the situation where we're kicking from about the 50. Nice high kick, and made him fair catch it at the 10. That was positive. So some good stuff, but some stuff to work on.
One defensive way it was Caleb Fortner made a tackle on Kellums, just grabbed him, solid tackle. How do you feel like the defense linebackers were playing tonight?
I thought overall, and obviously I'll watch the film here in another hour or 2, but I thought our guys tackled better than they have all spring. I thought, you know, we've had scrimmages, and we've had some missed tackles, and a lot of fundamental time dedicated to tackling. And I thought tonight they did a pretty good job, and were fairly effective. We missed some tackles, and it's usually because we're not using very good fundamentals at that particular time, or it might be because of our pad level, it might be because of our feet, or we didn't wrap, or took a poor angle. Those are things we can correct. But I thought the guys did a good job. Caleb's a good player, and you know, again, he's a guy that played a lot of football for us last year and made plenty of plays for us, and he's playing way more confident, far more than he did probably when he started last season. So I think that was, you know, that's positive. That's a good group of guys. Ian Anda Thomas, Brett Jarena, Adam Cash, Noah Nixon, Baylor Newsome. I mean, there's a pretty good lineup of guys there that we got some confidence in.
Go ahead, Sal.
Coach, can you talk a little bit more about Ian Thomas? I know that with Leo's graduation, looking for somebody next to Caleb to play, and has he progressed as being possible with that?
He had himself positioned at the beginning of last season to probably contribute a lot more than he did, and he got hurt early in the year, and that set him back. But he's a guy that I mean, when he was a freshman on the scout team, he made a ton of plays, and our coaches were really impressed with him, and his instincts, his ability to react to his keys and find the ball. So I mean, right now he and Caleb probably, at least going into tonight's spring game, we're at the top of the depth chart. Whether it'll be that way, when we play the first game or not, I don't know. But they're both playing well. Brett Jarina's playing better than he has played his entire career, which is so fun to see a senior, a rising senior playing like that. So there's those three guys in particular, I think are going to be really solid for us.
One more, speaking of a running senior, how happy were you for AJ for the touchdown
Man.
in the game? Because he's been through from Crude as a fullback, went to tight end last year, back as a fullback, and now as a lead for the.
He had a stop at linebacker in there too. And I'm really happy for him. He's had a really good spring. And there was a point in his career, probably at this point last year, coming out of spring, end of his sophomore year, I wasn't sure if he was going to ever really be able to contribute to the team. Obviously, last year we made a change in the offense, and he's recruited to play essentially fullback in an under center option. And he got moved from that position to linebacker, and from that linebacker position to tight end. And then when we made the transition back, really just kind of taking all those guys that were recruited to play that position and putting them back in that spot and see if he could find a way to get in the mix. And he really has. I mean, he's had a good spring, and not just running the football, doing the other things too. And so I'm happy for him. He's a great kid. He cares so much about this team. And so it was fun to see him get in there. He gained some tough yards on that drive before he scored the touchdown.
In a way, do you think that moving to that the shotgun kind of saved a spot for him on this team or no?
I think what saved his spot on the team. So we moved him to the H-back, or the kind of the cruiser position a year ago, to play in that offense. And he did some really good things in preseason camp at that position, but he was competing with guys like Crossan and Lingenfelter, and it's just going to be hard for him to beat those guys out, because that's kind of what they do for a living. And but we kept him around, and so he got his opportunity to kind of get back in that position, get in a groove, and he's had a good camp. So I'm happy for him, and really proud of him for the perseverance.
Go ahead, Ken.
Jeff, you came into camp with the backfield decimated.
Mhm.
So what's your impression of what you saw here, and can you carry this over to next season?
So I'm sorry, I'm getting a little cold here, guys. The guys that ran the ball tonight: Jake Rendina, AJ Williams, Jarrell Dixon, Carson Smith. None of those guys have any significant snaps playing football as an Army football player on Saturdays. And I thought all four of those guys ran the ball really hard and really well tonight. Now, they're playing against their own teammates, so it's all relative. I mean, maybe we stink, so they were able to run the ball really well. But now I think we got tough guys, and they were playing hard tonight, and they were competing, and those guys ran the ball and got tough yards. And we're going to have to do that against other people that play for other teams. But I was encouraged, and I think that group has really improved over the course of spring, gained some confidence. And Kanye Udo's out there, who I think is the most talented guy at that position, and unfortunately got an ankle injury early in camp, and we've held him out. And so getting him back in the fall, I think that's only going to add to that group of backs. And obviously the things that we're doing offensively are different than we were doing a year ago. But you got guys like AJ Williams, Jarrell Dixon, Kanye Udo, Carson Smith, Jake Rendina. We're all recruited to play fullback in this offense. So it's not like they were recruited to do something else. They were recruited to play in this system. Some went to prep school, some guys came direct, but it was what we recruited them to do. So hopefully that group of guys that's going to be enough for us to be able to keep the game going, and they got to hang on to the ball and get the tough yards.
If you used a lot of under center as well as shotgun, I'm sure when the season arrives, you're going to do whatever you need to do that day. But I asked the guys in here before, and they all seem comfortable with being able to switch between the shotgun and center offense. How does that make you feel, knowing that they feel good about it?
Well, what's important for us in terms of being able to go from one to the other is not having two different offensive systems, not having a, excuse me, an under center system and having a shotgun system, that they're married and there's some carryover from one to the other. And so that's really been our goal, is to try to create a system where there is carryover, and that for the guys up front, for the guys on the perimeter, that there's just, it's not completely different. The skills and the fundamentals that they use to execute one isn't different from the other. And for the backs and the quarterbacks, that, the meshes and the aiming points on the run plays there's some consistency, and it's just hard to teach two different offenses. And so what we were doing 2 years ago in 2022 and what we were doing last year in 2023, we didn't just take those two systems and say, okay, we're going to run both of them. We've taken pieces of both of them and tried to mesh them together. And I think Cody's done a really good job of simplifying it for our guys. And, we still got a long way to go. We got a lot more that we're going to have to build in to the system to have enough to play a game and have answers. But it's it's not going to go like this. There's the bulk of it's in right now.
Still a good honeymoon, yes.
I haven't played it. We're 0-0. So
Jeff, also the last thing about the quarterbacks. Bryson, looked pretty good tonight. Dwayne obviously shined. How do you feel about that group and Bryson's ability to hold the top spot? I mean, is he number one, or is it a kind of a clean slate in August?
No, I think right now, if we had to play a game tomorrow, Bryson Daly would be our quarterback. So until somebody beats him out, he's the quarterback. But it's good to see Dwayne Coleman building confidence and making plays and improving. And there's still things that he's got to do better. And Bryson made some mistakes, particularly early last year. It's his first season as a starter. And sometimes you learn by making mistakes. And I wish they could learn the lessons by watching somebody else. I wish they could learn the lessons in practice. And sometimes they learn a lesson by making a mistake. And unfortunately, sometimes that costs us. But I thought Bryson had a really good year. He's earned the spot at the top of the depth chart right now. But Dwayne and Cale and Zach and those three guys they're in a good, healthy competition to be the number two. And each one of them does enough things that they're gonna be able to compete, and they're gonna be in the mix. So there's not, I wouldn't say a clear cut, here's who number two is and here's who number three is at this point. But none of those guys have game experience. Zach Mundell, his athleticism, he's not rocket fast, but he's a really good athlete. He's really good in space. Dwayne is such a good leader and just does such a good job with the team and leading the offense. He led that last drive, and so those guys are different, but they're probably battling out right now for number two. And Cale Helms just got to grow up and not make freshman mistakes. And when he does that, he's going to be in the mix.
Jeff, what was your favorite part of today?
We didn't get hurt. That was the best thing. And
As far as your interactions and
yeah,
seeing what you wanted to see.
just the spirit that those guys played with, the fight in them. They played really hard, competed to win. The last series of downs where the team in the black jerseys had the ball right down there on the goal line, and the team in the white jerseys didn't quit. They didn't give up. They kept fighting and to block a kick and take the ball the distance. And, just to hear the guys on the sideline cheering for their teammates and they're into the game. That's what I want our team to be, is a team that fights really hard and competes and is fully invested. And I felt like they had that spirit and energy tonight. So that was a huge positive, despite all the mistakes.
We'll go to Joe for two quick on Zoom. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Coach Monken, real quick, you're replacing a lot of productivity at corner from last year. Talk a little bit about the job Coach Dixon's done with that young group at corner and how you felt those guys performed tonight.
Daryl Dixon is an outstanding coach. He's just a great professional. It's fun to sit in his meeting room and listen to him teach. It's fun to go over and watch him coach guys in individual drills and the detail of fundamentals and techniques and the knowledge that he has. He is a fabulous football coach, and he's been here now 8 seasons with us. I think it's been, and just done a great job. Started out as a linebackers coach, then transitioned to the corners. Had worked with Jay Bateman at Ball State, and Jay brought him in, and I'm glad he did. And I feel incredibly fortunate he hadn't left, because that guy could coach anywhere, any level, any team. He's outstanding, and he's done a great job with this group of corners. Very little experience. Platt has played some and has started a couple of games. Jaden Mays was out the whole season with eligibility issues. So just to get him kind of back in the groove. And the rest of the guys are a bunch of freshmen. I shouldn't say it. Justin Weaver's a sophomore, going to be a junior. And he's as talented as anybody we've got at that position. And so Daryl, I know is going to continue to work with him and bring him along. And hopefully we'll be able to get a lot out of Justin Weaver. But the real young guys, Joe Stevens and Jackson Hammond, those guys are they're the future of the program. They're going to have to play. They're going to have to be special teams guys. They're going to have to be ready to go in the game, and Daryl will have them ready. A couple of them aren't ready yet, but they will be. It won't be because they're not well coached.
And Coach, Terrell Robinson was one of the veterans that didn't dress today. Was that just out of precaution primarily?
T-Rob's not ready to go yet. He had a postseason procedure, and he's been held out since that procedure in the off season. And he didn't play at all in the spring. And so we'll bring him back as the summer goes along, and hopefully we're going to have him ready to go when we start the season in the fall.
And last question for you, Coach. Pretty even distribution of under center and shotgun plays tonight. Was that by design, or is that just kind of how it worked out tonight? It's
probably just kind of how it worked out. So Cody Worley was calling the plays on the black team. Mike V was calling plays for the gold team. So I know they had conversations before the game tonight, and just kind of what they wanted to do, what they wanted to get on film. Obviously when one guy's calling it, it's going to be, when Cody's calling it, it's going to be him just kind of getting in the groove and feeling the game and what's right at the time. But I think there'll be a good healthy mix, and there may be some games where we're under center more than shotgun, and some games where we're in shotgun more than we're under center. But there's a reason for all of it. It's not hey, we need to run this many plays in the gun. It's just kind of what we feel needs to be done at that particular time. And so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. And I think, for both sides and for us in general, we wanted to get every player in the game. We wanted to get everybody's significant snaps and have a chance to evaluate them. And so some of the plays we called were just an attempt to get the ball to a certain guy and give him a chance to make a play. And so some of that might have been a call, just, hey, I want to get a look at this. And so we'll kind of see where we're at in the fall and what we need to do. And we got a pretty good idea of who we need to be.